There you go. You're co-host now, John. Oh, that's great. Now, how do you put it down? How do I get rid of that thumb? I don't even know. Oh, it automatically goes away. Okay, good. Oh, hi, Nelda. We got one person in. You know what? It's such a nice day today. My class before this had hardly anybody in it. So we'll just see what happens.
Okay.
Maybe it'll just be you and me. Oh, there's Mary. Hey, welcome, Mary. Glad you could join us.
Thank you. How many more people are here?
Just one. Yeah, I think it's, you know what, the weather it's just so beautiful. My previous class to this one, also we started out with only 6 people and we wound up with maybe a dozen at the end of the class. People had come in later, but it was pretty small. Here comes Karen. Welcome, Karen.
Little by little, they're all coming in.
Yep, and Kathy, great. So glad you could join us. Nelda, where are you from?
Close to San Antonio, Texas.
Wonderful. And Mary?
Owens Mills, Maryland.
Oh, you're right down the road from me. Okay, I'm in Pennsylvania, right
Where
across
are you?
the border. In York.
Oh, okay.
Yep. Yep. Kathy, where are you coming from today?
The Upper Peninsula of Michigan.
Oh, wonderful. Oh, it's beautiful up there. That's great.
I think there's another guide from York, Pennsylvania, right?
Deb is from York.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I just finished with her, yeah.
Yep. Hi, Sabiha. Glad you're here. And Karen. Fabulous. We may just have this small group here today.
It's nice to be here.
Good. This is an open forum class. Once I share my required slides in the beginning from Get Set Up, I'm just going to open the floor to your questions and do my very best to answer anything that you throw at me. Larry has just joined us. Welcome, Larry. I'm hoping you all are having a gorgeous day where you live because it's fabulous here. It's probably one of the best days so far this spring. The sun is out, it's not humid, nice moderate temperatures, very comfortable.
It's beautiful in New York.
Good.
Yeah.
At least it's comfortable inside. I haven't been outside yet.
Well,
We have rain, but we really need it.
okay. Well, that's a great attitude. Yeah. We all do need rain from time to time.
So how did your previous session go?
Oh, it was great. Everything's been good today. This is my 4th right now.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. All right, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Here come the slides. There we go. Today's class is called Let's Talk Fitness. So welcome everybody. I hope you've brought your questions for me. My name is Stacy and I'll be your guide today. I come from the Keystone State of Pennsylvania. I have a master's degree in counseling psychology, and I used it for many years in the school system where I was a school counselor in Maryland, in Montgomery County. I have been teaching fitness and involved in fitness since the mid-1980s. I've done everything from being a part-time aerobics instructor to a trainer for instructors. I've sold fitness memberships. I've been a manager for a fitness company. And eventually I owned my own fitness company for a while in the 90s. I've also done corporate fitness in Washington, D.C. for a major corporation. And I've traveled around and presented fitness classes for a number of different government and medical facilities in the Baltimore, Washington area. I love connecting with other adults who are interested in fitness, who want to improve their health, their overall well-being, and people from every aspect of fitness, whether you're just getting started and you've never worked out before, or you're recovering from an injury and you'd like to get back to fitness, or you're an expert and you've been working out all your life. Hopefully I can answer questions for people of all levels in fitness. Get Set Up is a training and educational platform that helps people just like yourself to learn wonderful things. And I love that you all have your cameras on so we can see each other and feel like a community. You can request a recording after class by emailing help@getsetup.io. And I'll remind you of this again before class is over. It's on the ending slides as well. So if you need to write it down, I'll give you plenty of time toward the end. And you can get a live recording of today's session. If you're joining on the website by our live stream, the best way to participate is to join us and register for a class. That way you can be involved in the chat. You'll get an email afterwards that'll contain some key takeaways from the class. You'll have the ability to provide feedback. So join us, register, sign up. Get Set Up is not paid to promote any specific products or services. Anything that I might show, demonstrate, or talk about during class is strictly my own. So here are some ideas for you. I really don't know what questions you might have, but these are some areas that I thought about that people often ask about. Motivation and consistency, how to get started, how to stay motivated, how to set goals appropriate for whatever your own specific plans are for yourself. Specific exercises for certain areas of the body, trouble spots that we could discuss, delayed onset muscle soreness. That's the way you feel a day or two after the workout. You might also be interested in the differences between bodybuilding versus just muscle conditioning. And what is muscle toning? And is there specific training for certain sports? What about improving posture? How can we improve our posture, especially at our advanced ages? Perhaps we've already settled into a round-shouldered, stooped look. Can that be corrected? What about cardio or weight training for weight loss? Which is more effective? That's a great question, and a lot of people have different answers to that one. What I cannot discuss, because I don't have the training and background or medical expertise, I cannot discuss a specific diagnosis. I can't diagnose you if you have this pain or irritation in this muscle or joint. I can't tell you what it might be, what it looks like, or what I think it is. And I can't tell you about rehabilitation exercises for your specific injury or condition. Those questions are best brought to a medical professional or a physical therapist, your chiropractor, your orthopedic surgeon, whoever is treating you for those conditions. Oops, we don't want to go there yet. We're not ready to end. So I'll stop the share. I'm going to return to the gallery view so I can see you all when you ask questions and know who's talking to me. I'm here in my regular studio. Those of you who work out with me in the morning will recognize what's behind me. I have my weights, my basket of fitness balls, and I have a couple of additional things that I brought out for the class that was before this. I have resistance bands and a step and my yoga mat back there in the corner. So, what questions do you have today? I'm ready. Just jump right out there. You don't need to raise your hand, just call it out, Karen.
Sorry.
That's okay.
I do attend your classes in the morning, and I'm not really into fitness, exercise, I should say. I'm into fitness, but I was wondering, like on the weekends, what out of your classes, what would you recommend somebody do maybe for 20 or 30 minutes, you know, on Saturday and Sunday, just to kind of stay in the groove until Monday comes around again?
So if you're asking about my specific classes, I would recommend that you just pick your favorite. The one that I wouldn't recommend that you do extra is the weight training, because that's kind of designed so that you have plenty of recovery time. But the combo class is a fun class to do. A lot of people like that format. And you can do the weight training part of it without weights. But the whole idea that it's intermittent training, a little cardio, a little weights, and we do it in a circuit format with each circuit, each round getting progressively more challenging. That's kind of fun. And you might like the Tuesday morning, Let's Get Moving, which is a gentle cardio class. And you can always do that core class, Monday's class, training your core. It's a body weight type of class. So it's seated and we're not using weights. So that's a great one to do extra too. So
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm glad you want to do it every day, especially
What time are your
I don't
class?
know that I want to do it every day. I'm going to be honest. But I think when Monday rolls around, you know, I want to do the Monday morning, and I want to continue during the week whenever I can.
Good.
I feel like I'm a little bit slow and, you know, a little bit stiff. I feel like if I spent 20 minutes doing a few things on Saturday and Sunday, you know, simple, that I would probably feel a little bit better about it on Monday morning. That's all.
Yeah, then probably the core class is your best bet, because it's easy and gentle and you can take it at your own pace, your own intensity. So that may be a good one for you to repeat over the weekend if you feel like you need something.
Okay,
What time are your classes?
Sure. Now, John, our TA, is with us today and he's available in the chat. John has just let me know that he's posted the link for my morning classes. So if you're interested, they are at 8 o'clock Monday through Friday. That's Eastern Standard Time or Eastern Daylight Time or whatever it is, Eastern Time, 8 o'clock a.m. For those of you in other parts of the country, I recognize that that's not a good time for you. And I apologize. I wish I was available to teach again, like a noontime class or something, but I have a job, so I can't.
Oh, so you don't do anything around 9?
No.
Nothing
on
around 9
Fridays.
o'clock.
On Fridays, I have a 9:15 core training class. Every Friday, 9:15, except this coming Friday, which is Memorial Day weekend, I'm taking off, but every other Friday.
That was my question. Yeah.
Oh, was it? Yeah, I'm
You're not
taking
doing
off Friday and Monday.
Monday.
For
Okay.
the holiday.
Okay. Then I have another question. I find like this morning, doing the exercises, I was straining my neck. And I don't know why the stress goes into my neck, and then the breathing also doesn't work the way it should normally. You know, I stop because I'm concentrating on the exercise. So how do you manage that? How do you work on that? That
is certainly a challenge, and I appreciate that you brought that up. all of us tend, I think it's a rare person who doesn't wind up with stress in their neck and shoulders. And when we're exercising, in like today's class, we did a lot of shoulder work. And so when you're doing these types of movements with lifting your arms in various directions, and we did some reaching with the fitness ball and so forth, you do tend to wind up with some tension here in your neck and shoulders. And all you can really do is continue to remind yourself to let that go. And if that means that you make a smaller movement, you do less of a range of motion, or take the exercises slower, then do that. Because the last thing I want is for you to develop a pulled muscle or like a Charlie horse cramping through the neck and shoulders because you've been holding it tense during 45 minutes of exercise. So we don't want to do that. And then the breathing, it's just a matter, I think it's a matter of practice. And if it helps, what some people find is that it helps to count. So as I'm counting, if you make yourself count a little bit along with me, then you're going to naturally be breathing, because you can't talk or have a conversation without some breath work. And it tends to follow whatever your body wants it to do. So that's my recommendation for anyone who finds themselves holding their breath. And I think I'll make a point of mentioning that in my next class, because it's a great technique. And all I have been doing so far is just saying, remember to breathe, remember to breathe. But you know, if you've already been holding your breath for the last 5 minutes from the last time I said, remember to breathe, that's not good. So thank you for mentioning that. It's a good reminder for me as well.
Thank you.
Yep. Hey, Gladys, I see you just joined us with your lovely sunflowers. Thank you for being here. Any other questions for me today?
What is a good exercise? The arms. I've been doing muscle toning at least twice or 3 times a week, because every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday I do something that includes weight training, and I try to also focus on my arms, because I held my arm up and I noticed something was hanging here. So I guess it's getting a little firm now, but that's my focus. And also the stomach.
Okay. So let's start with the arms, since that was the first part. I'm going to just jot that down so I make sure that I address arms, stomach. Okay. So my Wednesday class is a seated weight training class, and we do quite a bit of shoulders and arm work in that class. So typically when you exercise your arms, you do that biceps work, which works the muscle here on the top. You want to work the muscle underneath here to tighten and tone this area. So that involves triceps work. Triceps work I'm going to give you an example, because I'm sitting here, but this is not the best example for most of us to do. The example is that you have your arm here overhead with a weight that goes down toward your back, and then you extend.
Okay, I've been doing that because I found a program on TV.
Oh, good.
And it focuses on the triceps.
Oh.
And what it does the triceps and the biceps. So when one is resting, the other's working.
Well, yes, they work together that way.
And so I'm doing like the kickbacks.
Yes.
I'm doing these,
Okay.
And like I said, I think it's probably helping because it's not shaking down there anymore. But I want to make sure that it's really tight, especially when I put on my sleeveless tops.
Yeah, so I mean, I think the best thing, you're already doing the best exercises for that area. I wouldn't add anything to it. As you improve and those exercises feel easy to you, maybe you want to go with a slightly hevier weight. That would be your next level.
I have increased, let's put it like this. Before I moved back here, I was doing an exercise class and I was working out in our gym, and I was using the 10-pound weight to do my lifts. But since we moved here and with the COVID, I had to start off and work back up. So I started with the 3, then I went to 5, and now I'm at 6. So now, depending on what exercise I'm doing, I go from the 5 to the 6 pound.
And that sounds good. Typically the biceps is stronger. You could do, for example, a 10 with the biceps, but only an 8 with the triceps. That's pretty common. Don't expect to be able to do the same with both, but if you can, that's great. Do you know this? I'll show you one real quick.
Okay.
Let me pull out my chair here.
Oh, that's another thing I don't do is I don't do chair exercises.
So this is the triceps dip.
Yeah, I do
Right
that
here?
too. On one of them, they have the dip. So I'll do the dip.
That was my only other suggestion for you, because that sort of you're using your body weight with that one. So it's that's a heavy duty.
And then push-ups also.
And if you want to, you don't do push-ups?
I do push-ups also, because one that I do with, they want your hands inward and to push up. And then they say outward. And then during the last set, you hold. So it really pulls when you're holding.
Well, good for you. It sounds like you're already doing everything you can be doing for that
Okay.
area. I love that.
Okay.
Just keep it up. It's a slow process. And toning involves 2 things. It involves increasing the muscle and decreasing the fat. So you got to be addressing both things. Decreasing the fat, of course, is with what you're eating. That part starts in the kitchen.
Right.
Increasing your muscles, and make sure you're taking in enough protein to build those muscles too.
What is the best
Okay.
exercise for sciatic nerves?
Okay, let me come back to that, Nelda. I think that's who asked me that.
Yeah. Now we get to my stomach.
Because I wanted to remember to talk a little bit about the stomach. So if you're interested in flattening your stomach, you absolutely 100% need to be working your transverse abdominis. Now, here's the thing. When you work with most fitness professionals, everybody teaches class and teaches you crunches, okay? When you do a crunch or a sit-up, you're working these muscles right here. Now, I ask you, if you want to reduce your waist size, does this make sense that you would take a band and wrap it around your body and tighten it up this way? Is that going to do anything really for the size of your waist? Not a whole lot. And that's what working the outside, you're like these upright, your rectus abdominis, the muscles that make a 6-pack, that's what working that does. If you want to reduce the size of your waist, you would want a band to go around this way, right? Like a girdle, and tighten it up there. That's going to reduce the size of your waist. Well, guess what? You got muscles inside that will do that for you. And that is the lowest, most interior group of muscles in your abdominals, and that's called the transverse abdominals. They literally run from hip to hip crosswise, and the purpose of them is to support your internal organs. And you can work your transverse abdominis when you're sitting in a chair, and I train that in my core training class. And all you have to do, it's commonly called vacuums. What you do is you pull your belly button in toward your spine and you hold it for 30 seconds and then release. And you can work up to 60 seconds of a hold, and you have to make sure you're breathing while you hold it in, because it's the breath work against the muscle tightness that puts that little bit of stress on the muscles and helps you strengthen your transverse abdominis. You're also working that muscle group when you do a plank. Think about when you do a plank and you're stretched out with your
Yeah.
belly facing the floor, and you're resting on your feet and your elbows. In order to properly do that exercise and not let your back sway, you're pulling your belly button up tight against your spine. You're working that same muscle, the transverse abdominis.
Okay.
So that's the first one.
Okay,
The second
thank you.
one are the internal obliques. The internal obliques are the ones that twist you side to side, right? So those are the muscles there. So
Uh-huh.
when we talk about taking a V seat, for example, in abdominal work, and then twisting elbow like this to the floor on each side, you're working those oblique muscles. Now, I caution ladies who want to work their obliques. We used to teach an exercise where you were like this with a weight, and you'd go down and up with weights in your hand. Now you're working your obliques on there, but you're also building size. So if you look at a female bodybuilder's physique, often a female bodybuilder with a six-pack has a blocky torso. It doesn't cut in at the waist because they've overdeveloped their external obliques, doing heavy weights, leaning side to side. So I just like to do unweighted exercise with those twisting movements in a V seat, or you can do it in a chair if you're just starting out. I hope that helps a little bit.
Okay, now years ago, years ago, someone told me to do the side twist. He had me to lay on the floor, pull my knees up to my chest, arms out, and just twist the lower part of my body from side to side. Back then, it worked because after doing it for a time, I had a waistline.
So that exercise.
So does that still work?
Yes, it works your internal obliques, it works your external obliques, and it has the added advantage in that twist of giving you a stretch across the hips, which someone asked me about sciatica, and that's what you want to do for that type of pain is you want to stretch out the iliotibial band, which goes across your hips and pulls into the sciatic nerve. So yes, that exercise works. Why I don't like it and recommend it for our older adult population is because there's somewhat of a loss of control when you've got those legs over to the side. If it's too much for you, you're stuck, right? And I really emphasize safety in my classes. So if you're experienced at that exercise and you know you can take your legs over and lift them back up and it's not going to hurt your back, you're good to go. But for a lot of the folks that I work with just starting out, that's more of a more advanced move. Thank you. All right.
Oh, okay. I've been working out for over 9 years.
That's great, Mary. Thank you. Let me move on and address the sciatica.
So it's easy for me to do that.
Good for you. You keep it up. I love that.
Thank you.
Sure. So the sciatic nerve, it's very interesting anatomically. And I can offer you one stretch that may provide relief. It may not, depending on what your injury or irritation is to that nerve, but anatomically, your sciatic nerve has a band of muscles that run across it, and that's the piriformis and the iliotibial band. So we're going to do a hip stretch on the outside of the hip to stretch that. In my class, we do that where we cross one leg over the other, but you can easily do it lying down in bed. Can you see the floor if I demonstrate here real quick?
Yes.
Floor. I know I'm kind of far from the camera, but what you would do if you're lying down is you would, I hope you can see me, and you
Yes, I
We can.
will.
lift and cross one leg over the other, making like the number 4 with your legs, and you're going to stretch the outer side of this hip that's bent over. You reach through and just very gently pull this leg in toward you. And you're going to feel that stretch along the outside right here. I can feel it right now, and it's pulling on that nerve because I feel it twinging down my leg. So I know that I need this hip stretch right here. And you can do it in bed, right? And I do it seated in my one seated class. And then the stretch that Mary was talking about, where you're lying on your back and you take your legs over to the side. And you can just take one leg over to the side with a bent knee very gently and bring it back up. If you have a strong enough lower back that doesn't pull against it. Now you may find when you do that number 4 stretch with your legs, maybe you can't quite reach that leg yet, which is where a stretching band is helpful. And that's, it's often used in yoga. It's the band itself is not stretchy. The band is like that webbed fabric, like a belt.
Yeah.
Here is a stretching band. So it just assists with stretching. See, it does not stretch itself, but it would help me to support that leg if I was wanting to pull it toward me in that first stretch I showed. Or if I'm going to take my legs over to the side across my body from a lying down position, lying on my back, this would help me to bring my legs back up if I got stuck with them over to the side.
Thank you.
I hope that's helpful. Sciatica is one of those really painful things that just makes you feel like you can't move and can't do anything. And it's hard to exactly locate the source of that pain.
I know somewhere else I read that you can put a tennis ball, right in the middle of your butt, wherever that you feel that nerve, and just sit on it or lay on it. I know they did that when I went to my physical therapy, but it just doesn't seem like I'm sitting on one right now, but
doesn't do it for you.
Pain down, yeah. Then I've got knee problems too, so that's combined with everything else.
So it may be deeper than just what that tennis ball is able to do. Give those stretches a try and see if that helps you, Nelda. But that's about as much as I'm really ethically able to.
Right, I understand.
Deal with, because I'm not a medical professional or physical therapist. Anybody else have some questions, thoughts?
So
Hi, this is, oops, go ahead.
oh, go ahead, whoever's talking.
Oh, that was Kathy. I do a lot of walking, but I'm really lost arm and hand strength, it seems, as I've gotten older.
Yes.
And I was wondering is there some, like, if I carried weights, would that help? And how much weight?
Carrying weights is not going to help your hand and forearm strength. Here's what I recommend. Get yourself a fitness ball. Now, mine is a little bit overinflated, and in my classes, I demonstrate a lot of these exercises. This is what you can squeeze. You see how it has a lot of give to it. The fitness ball is a little bit sticky so that I have good grip with it, and I got it on Amazon. There's a number of them available, different brands. So you can do these squeezes with your fingers to improve your grip. You can do one finger at a time, like you're playing the piano, pinky, ring finger, go all the way up like that. Reverse it, thumb, go that way. The other thing that we do, we hold the ball imagine like this is a mason jar, and we're going to twist the lid. And we twist 8 times to one side and 8 times to the other side. Okay, so you want to do things like that for your hand strength. All weights are really going to do is develop your biceps, maybe your triceps a little bit. maybe aggravate your shoulders or strengthen your shoulders if your shoulders are good. So that's my recommendation. You know, you can always get those little squeezy things too. You've probably seen those things, they look like calipers, but that does one thing. It does this squeezing movement. The ball enables you to spread your fingers wide and really take advantage of working those fingers. And that's what I would recommend, that you can start with that. I think the ball is absolutely amazing. It's my favorite piece of home equipment, just because there's so many things you can do with it, and improving hand strength is just the tip of the iceberg with the fitness balls. And there's no weight to that. It's just like a little inflatable ball. When they send it to you from Amazon, it comes with its own little pump, so you can very easily inflate it, and you can pump it up to a low, so it's really soft to get started with, and gradually increase the firmness of the ball. Get yourself a fitness ball.
Thank you. That's very helpful.
You're welcome. Somebody else had a question. Was it Sabiha? Unmute yourself, hon.
I said I have knee problems, and you're supposed to strengthen the muscle that goes from the back of your knee up to your hip. Is that something that's...
I missed the first part. You had the first word I heard was problems. So
With
I'm not
knees.
sure what area you're talking about.
I'm talking about my knees.
Knees.
My
Okay.
knee. Yes. So what is the best way to, what's the best exercise to do to strengthen the muscles around the knees?
This is such a conundrum for many folks. In order to strengthen your knees, you have to squat. Squatting hurts your knees. So it's a dilemma.
Mm-hmm.
The first exercise that I recommend is a leg extension. And I recommend that you do it seated in a chair without any weights, because you have complete control. You can do as little or as much as you want, and you're not stuck on a machine with a weight attached to your foot where you've got to do a certain amount to even release the weight. So a leg extension. We're sitting in a chair, my legs are down, and I want you to just unbend your knee. So we're sitting like this upright, and you're just going to lift and release. So now this is working the muscles in the quadriceps right here on both sides of the knee, and you'll feel them engage as you straighten that knee and release. And if your knee doesn't want to do that today, just do a little bit. Just do a little bit of motion. You can control this range of motion. When you get stronger, you can use something like a fitness band, and you can wrap it around your leg and the back of the chair there. Give yourself a little bit of tension as you lift and lower. So that would be a more advanced or a more challenging way to look at that. And still with an elastic band, a fitness band, you still have control. So a leg extension is where I would start. Develops the muscles on the top of the thigh. Now to support your knee, you got to look at the muscles all the way around. So we're looking at the quadriceps right there, kind of the lower insertion area close to the knee. Once you get started with a squat, you're going to be working on the larger group of muscles up here in the quadriceps. Now, the quadriceps means that there's 4 heads to that muscle. So we're working each one of them kind of in a separate way. And the leg extension works the 2 lower areas of that muscle. So to start out with a squat, and when they bother your knees, here's a key. You want to make sure your knees are facing in the same direction as your toes. So I always want people to start with your legs a hip width apart, feet directly facing forward, and knees, shins, the top of your thigh, everything goes forward. And then just take a very soft break to the knees. You don't have to go very far to begin to feel this. And as you gradually increase strength, you can go a little bit deeper. Okay, so that's two good things to develop your quadriceps that are kind of easy to do, pretty simple, even with your knees struggling, you could start there. Next, I would want you to do some hamstring curls to work on the muscle back here. So that's going to be just bending the knee up behind you. You can hold on to a chair for support. You don't need to use any weight, but again, once you get strong, you could add those elastic bands. You're also going to want to use inner and outer thighs. So you want to lay on your side with a bended knee, one knee over the other, and lift side, and that's going to work your hips and right down along the side of the thigh.
Okay.
That's a start anyway.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? What about motivation, you guys? What gets you up in the morning to come to my class, or what gets in the way?
You do, Stacy. Just the fact that I know I'm taking your class makes me motivated to take it.
Oh, thank you, Awilda.
Yes,
I'm glad you enjoy it.
absolutely. It just gets my brain moving. I feel more energetic, positive about myself. You just are a dream come true. Thank you so much for everything you do.
Thank you so much for your kind words. I really appreciate it.
Very welcome.
Yeah, I agree with her completely.
Oh, you guys are so sweet.
Yeah.
For many people, getting started in fitness is a matter of accessing in your mind your why. And unfortunately, for many, it winds up being a medical reason. Your doctor says, look, you've got a heart condition, you need to start walking, or your back is in such a bad shape, you've got to strengthen the long muscles of your spine. Or you have some other type of injury or deficiency that you decide, I gotta get a hold of this. I need to do something about it. For many, that's key. For others, it's about maybe being able to do things with the grandkids, realizing that you're not able to keep up, or you're uncomfortable sitting on the sidelines at their soccer games because sitting is bothering your back or your knees. And you start realizing that, there was a time when it wasn't that way. And what do you need to do to get back there? So it's really about keeping your reason, your why, right there in front of you, uppermost in your mind. So when that alarm clock goes off for your class and you're not feeling it, you remember, oh, I got to do this. I want to be able to swim with the grandkids, or run along the beach, or go on a hike with them. Or I don't want to have this pain following me for the rest of my days. I want to live pain-free and be strong. Or maybe you're independent in your home and you don't want to have to go knock on the neighbor's jar to open, or knock on the neighbor's door to open your jar of pickles. You need to find a way on your own to strengthen your hands, or get some supportive devices to help you do that. And I've not found a good jar opener that works. I have not. My mother used to have one that was a metal clamp that clamped onto the jar, so it's and then you had leverage to turn. Now everything is plastic or rubber, and it clamps on, and you go to turn it and it slides. So I don't know what people are supposed to use if they can't open a jar, because, every now and then you do get a jar that's just very resistant.
Yes. Yep.
So again, I'm just going to make just a little bit of a blanket statement about squats. I recognize that for many of us as we get older, knees start to be a problem. They start to be aggravated. Knees were not meant to do all the things that we put them through. The most important thing that knees are not meant to do is twist. So for those of you who are doing any type of exercising, weight bearing or otherwise, that involve bending and straightening your knees, please always make sure that the long bones of your thigh and your shin are facing in the same direction. And that's as easy as remembering to keep your knees headed over your toes. For example, I'm from the school of ballet. So in ballet, we always work on turnout. Toes have to go out to the side, and then kids are taught to plie. And when you're just starting out, you can easily rotate your ankles, but not the rest of your legs. So you go to bend and your knees are like kind of going that way, but your feet are turned out. And then the teacher starts to train you to turn out from the hips so that the whole leg goes the same way. Now, this is an extreme example. Y'all aren't doing ballet. We're not doing plies today. But if you're squatting, you want to make sure that your knees are aiming over your toes. If you are lunging, watch how you step. If your feet angle ever so slightly outward, make sure that your knee is doing the same thing. Everybody is structurally built a little bit differently, and maybe it's more comfortable for you to have a stance where your feet are facing 11 and 1, and the straight position straight ahead is awkward or uncomfortable for you. So then it's okay to have your feet a little bit angled. You just have to make sure that your knees are doing the same thing. This is the most common football injury, guys. Here's what happens when guys are wearing cleats on a field and the cleats hold their foot in place and the rest of their body is trying to go in a different direction and their leg twists, and it's so painful and terrible to see.
Yes.
And then you wind up with those medial collateral, ACL, all that kind of stuff that you hear about, those devastating sports-ending injuries. So that's the most important way to protect your knees as you move forward with these strengthening exercises to build the muscles that surround your knees so that you can alleviate the pain. The other suggestion I have for you is to take the anti-inflammatory turmeric, Turmeric. Many people cook with it. If you don't, and it's not something that you use, you may want to look for capsules. I started taking turmeric about 3 years ago, and it has made a world of difference for me. I have torn cartilage in both of my knees. It's really minor. The doctor said it's not worth operating on or doing anything about it, but it does cause some aggravation and irritation. And anything like that leads to inflammation. So if you have pain somewhere, no doubt it's related to an inflammation. And our body becomes inflamed sometimes just from the foods that we're eating and the additives and preservatives that we may not be aware of that are in our food. Or you may have inflammation in your body because your own personal system is irritated by something in the food. You might have it and I don't, or vice versa. It's all very unique. At the end of the day, you are your own science experiment, and fitness and nutrition and health, it's a personal journey. And what works for you may not work for me or anybody else here. So turmeric I offer as an amazing anti-inflammatory that can help you with things like sore knees, people who have arthritis, itis, that suffix, arthritis, tonsillitis, all of that. The itis means inflammation of. So if a doctor has told you you have arthritis, you can be sure there is an inflammation in your joints. And turmeric is a natural way of managing that. It's not a drug, it's an herb, it's a spice. It's natural. I don't believe that you can overdose on it. I just take the recommended dose, which is 1,200 milligrams per day. It's 2 bright yellow capsules. I have it on auto ship from Amazon. It's made a world of difference in my knees. I have no pain in my knees anymore. It also did a little bit of something for the dark circles under my eyes, which result, it's associated with allergies, seasonal allergies. So it helped with that too. I just offer that as an idea. Exercises to prevent osteoporosis or thinning of the bones. So pretty much if you are approaching an osteoporosis diagnosis, if you have been told you have osteopenia, which is a precursor to osteoporosis, your best bet is exercise. Weight-bearing exercise helps build the bones. The exercises that you want to avoid are exercises that involve spinal flexion, in which you do not have control of the amount of weight on your back. For example, the plow. The plow is an exercise where you're imagine laying, I'm not going to do it because I'm not putting my butt in the air like that for the internet, but imagine you're laying on your back and you lift your legs up, overhead, all the way up overhead. Sometimes we do that in an advanced yoga class. That exercise puts the weight of your whole body on the back of your neck. So something like that is not recommended because your vertebrae are bones that are susceptible to an osteoporotic break. So you want to avoid something like that. Now, any type of spinal flexion where you're in control, like if you're doing seated crunches, or if you're doing lying down crunches and you're flexing forward, that's okay. It's really about additional weight that's being put on your vertebrae in that position. That was really the only contraindication that I was able to find when I researched that, because that question came up in another class. What is recommended is a lot of walking and other upright weight-bearing exercises like lunges and squats and side steps with weights in your hand, things like that. I hope that answered that question a bit. Unless, of course, your doctor who's diagnosed your osteoporosis tells you that there's something you shouldn't do. And I'll give you an example. I have been diagnosed with the osteopenia, and it happened a few years ago when I was running and I had a stress fracture. Now that happened from running. I ran 5 miles that day. It felt great. It was a beautiful day, just like today, with no humidity, and the running felt good. And I was just enjoying myself. And when I came home, I realized that my shin was burning. And I knew immediately what it was. I have had shin splints in the past. Nobody can be an aerobics instructor for long without at least experiencing shin splints. But a stress fracture is when shin splints just go to the next level. So I did have an x-ray, and the tibia, which is the the fibula, the smaller bone beside your big shin bone, the one that attaches on the outside to your ankle, there was a slice right across where it had cracked. It didn't move out of place or anything, and I was in an air cast for the next 6 weeks, but I wasn't able to run anymore, and it did swell and it did hurt and it was annoying. And when that happens to someone in our age group, you are automatically diagnosed with osteoporosis because you've had a bone break and you're over 50 or whatever the age cutoff is, where they suddenly decide that's what you have. So I can continue to walk. I'm very careful with my running. I know what I did wrong that day. It was too much too soon. And I have a long stride, which puts additional stress on those bones. And I've had to really shorten my stride really little. And that's made a difference. So That's the other side of overtraining and trying to do the right thing so you don't develop osteoporosis. So I only recommend running with extreme caution. Walking is great. And have good supportive shoes if you're out on the concrete. All right, I'm going to go ahead. It's toward the end here. I'm going to use my closing slides now, my thank you screen. Coming up right here, we'll remind you again how you can get a copy of today's session. Thank you again for joining me. I hope you enjoyed the session. I hope I answered some of your questions and didn't go off on too many tangents that you weren't interested in. Remember that you can share your experience on social media by using the hashtag #GetSetUp or the @GetSetUp. You can email Liz if you want to talk about things to post on social media, but Liz can't get you a copy of the recording, so don't ask her. Related classes like Ageless Grace will get you moving. It's a seated format. You could also try Get Moving by Line Dancing, taught by the fabulous Shirley. She does a great job, and I believe most of her music is Motown. And there's a number of wonderful yoga classes also that have been included in our class schedule. So my next set of classes next week, I have core training on Monday, Let's Get Moving on Tuesday, seated strength training on Wednesday, fitness combo on Thursday. And again, our wonderful TA, excuse me, our wonderful TA has put the link to my classes in the chat if you need them. Excuse me. Be on the lookout for the email that will come from Get Set Up. Will contain some key takeaways from today's class, as well as some suggestions for other classes you might enjoy, and a link for you to leave some feedback for us. You can now refer a friend to Get Set Up. If you know somebody that would benefit from our classes, you can invite them. Look for a screen that looks like this on your desktop computer. And then you have the opportunity to provide your email address or your friend's email address and click the orange tab, and they'll automatically receive an email inviting them to participate and sign up for Get Set Up. This is the important email right here, help@getsetup.io. So write that one down if you want to request a recording of today's session, or if you have technical issues and you would like to let somebody know that you are struggling to connect or what it looked like when you logged into Zoom. This is the email that you want to use. You can also use this email address if you want to tell the people at Get Set Up that you would like to host an interest group on a topic of your own, or if you would like to suggest a different class that we haven't provided yet. If there's something you're looking for, let us know. And we partner with these organizations throughout the country, various assisted care, senior living, government and community organizations. But if we're not yet partnered with one of those organizations in your community, let us know what those organizations are, and someone on our team will reach out to them. And finally, most importantly, you can request a session recording right here with this email address, help@getsetup.io. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope I answered some of your questions.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Have a wonderful
Bye.
weekend.
Thank you. Have a
Join
great
me
day.
for some of the morning classes next week. I'll look for you there.
See you Monday.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. It was awesome class. Thank you.
Wonderful. Bye. And thank you, John.